hiker spots a strange shape on the side of a cliff before understanding the urgent reality. Fresh air, exercise, and all the sights Mother Nature has to offer. What more could you ask for from a hike? A few hours in the great outdoors is all most people need to calm their nerves and feel at peace. Of course, not all hikes are created equal. One Idaho local learned this lesson the hard way when strolling through one of his favorite hangout spots. He saw something that made him do a double take. When he realized what it was, there was no turning back. He had to do something fast. It was a normal day in Twin Falls County, Idaho, when a group of locals strolling through Snake River Canyon that caused them to stop in their tracks. There was a curious white blur, at first too distant to make out distinctly. When the onlookers approached further, they couldn't believe what they had discovered. There was an animal trapped on the rugged terrain. Surveying the rock face, the locals figured there was no way the animal could have climbed up the cliff by itself. They concluded that it must have survived a steep fall from the top of the mountain. The cliff was not only high and steep, but it was also full of loose rocks and crumbling dirt that could prove dangerous even for seasoned climbers. They called a few animal rescue organizations, begging each to come and save the animal in peril. After all, so many rescuers weren't afraid to brave much worse than a steep cliff face. But the responses they received shocked them. Unbelievably, the team of Good Samaritans received rejection after rejection from the groups they called. Apparently, the mission to save the animals stuck on the cliff was simply too risky to attempt. Finally, they found one special organization that was willing to navigate the tough terrain. The volunteer rescue group Friends Forever had professionals it could deploy to complete the risky venture. Richard Jensen and Dave Wright were the men for the job. Being experienced rock climbers as well as animal enthusiasts, there couldn't have been a better pair for the mission. In order to figure out the exact escape route that they needed to take, the men employed a special drone to survey the area. Once that was done, they prepared to make their ascent to the mystery animal. Dave and Richard slowly began to climb the cliff, making sure to take all the right steps so as not to fall. Finally, it became clear who they were trying to rescue, a big, fluffy white dog. Before beginning the precarious job of bringing the dog back down, the two sat with him for a while to make sure he was comfortable. They also fed him water and pieces of an energy bar. Soon, it was time to descend. On their way down, the two men had to pass the pup back and forth frequently in order to ensure his safety. Talk about a high-stakes game of catch. Needless to say, getting down was a lot more difficult than the journey up had been. Dave and Richard breathed a sigh of relief as they reached the bottom of the mountain with the dog safely in tow. However, there was still more to be done. The dog, who they fittingly named Clifford, had been stuck on the cliff for at least 5 days. He was in poor shape, malnourished, as well as covered in fleas and dirt. Luckily, Windswept Kennels was generous enough to take him in. They gave him a full body cleaning and even got rid of all of his nasty fleas. He still needed medical attention, though. After the kennel, Clifford was sent to a vet who examined him and came to some sad conclusions. Poor Cliff was all banged up and covered in infected sores. His time on the mountain had truly been hard on the dog. However, treatment wasn't free. Forever Friends reached out to the public, asking for donations to help take care of Clifford. They needed assistance in financing his vet bills and other costs. Thankfully, people were happy to help. There was one last issue, though. Since no one had claimed Clifford, he still needed a new home and a caring family to live with. The organization made it known that the incredibly resilient dog was up for adoption. But Clifford knew he wouldn't have to wait too long for someone to bring him in. Dogs in a place similar to him were finding homes all over the country, especially if folks like Fire Captain Scott Parkin had anything to say about it. See, something was wrong at the Great Falls in Paterson, New Jersey. Visitors spotted movement in some bushes growing out of a nearby ledge. They called the fire captain to see what it possibly could be. A closer look revealed a dog stranded at the foot of the waterfall. Nobody there could reach it, and one misstep could plunge the canine straight into the raging Passaic River. The situation was serious. The Great Falls spanned nearly 80 feet from bottom to top, placing it amongst the largest waterfalls in the United States. To make things worse, heavy rains from the past couple days made the waterfall's current incredibly fierce. Parkin would have to act fast. As luck would have it, he was the perfect man for the job. For one thing, he had 25 years under his belt as a firefighter and had handled plenty of disasters. He also had crisis management in his blood. His father, Joseph, was a longtime firefighter who passed along all his knowledge to his son. Back in 1976, Joseph even saved 2 dogs from that same waterfall. Now Parkin was destined to follow in his father's footsteps. Additionally, he felt more than prepared to put his life on the line for the pooch. Parkin believed that dogs are the best, sometimes better than people. The Patterson firefighters originally considered launching a rescue mission by boat. However, the powerful current made this option too risky. With the help of his team, Parkin hooked up a cable to a bridge above the falls and bravely rappelled down. Hopefully the dog would cooperate, or else the ride back up would go far less smoothly. When Parkin finally reached the ledge, he breathed a sigh of relief. The pit bull in peril was not hostile or seriously injured. Parkin was a dog owner himself, so he knew how to earn the dog's trust despite the tense situation. With a handful of food and a few encouraging words, he lured the dog closer. Keeping his cool, Parkin led the pit bull into a bag connected to the cable. It wouldn't provide the most comfortable ride for the pup, but at least it wouldn't be able to look down. As the crowd of concerned onlookers gathered around the waterfall, the fire captain gave the signal that he was ready for his team to hoist him up. The firefighters expertly pulled Parkin and his new friend up the face of the Great Falls. At last, he planted his feet back on solid ground. Animal control officers on the scene confirmed that the pooch was okay and congratulated Parkin. They said that without his heroics, the critter would have likely drowned. A class act all the way. Parkin gave full credit to his team. He explained, "I trust these guys with my life. I'd go off any structure at any height with the trust I have in these guys and the work that they do." The dog's collar had no tag attached, so Mayor Andre Saunier named it Patterson. With open arms, the fire department adopted the animal named after the town.